You don't hear about the curfew, you feel it. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're walking back from a friend's place, 3 blocks from your apartment. The street is empty. Not quiet, empty. No cars, no voices, not even a dog. Just the hum of the streetlights and the sound of your own footsteps. You stop walking. You don't know why. Something animal inside you says stop. Then you see it. A black van, parked on the corner, engine off, no plates. A man leans against it, arms crossed. He's not looking at his phone. He's not smoking. He's just watching. Watching the street. Watching you. You lower your head and walk faster. You get home, lock the door, stand in your kitchen with the lights off. You look out the window. The van is still there. In the morning, it's gone. You tell yourself it was nothing. That's what everyone tells themselves the first time. It happens again 4 days later. Different corner, same van, same man. Different man, actually, but same posture, same stillness. You start paying attention now. You notice that nobody in your neighborhood goes out after midnight. Not the college kids across the street, not the bodega owner who used to restock at 1 a.m. Nobody. You ask your neighbor Marcus about it. He's lived here 12 years. He looks at you for a long moment. Then he says, "You're new here, right? You've lived here 8 months. Don't go out past 11, he says. Just don't." You ask him why. He closes his door. That night, you sit by your window with the lights off, and you watch. At 11:58 p.m., a woman turns onto your block, walking fast. Grocery bag in her hand, earbuds in. She doesn't see the van until she's already past it. The man steps off the curb. He doesn't grab her. He doesn't run. He just says something. She stops walking immediately. She turns around, goes back the way she came. Head down, no argument. That grocery bag stays on the sidewalk all night. You don't sleep. You find the paper slipped under your door on a Thursday morning. No envelope, no name, just a folded piece of paper. Inside, in plain typed text, 11 p.m., no exceptions. Stay inside and nothing happens to you. That's it. You show Marcus. He reads it, hands it back, says nothing. "How long has this been happening?" you ask. "Long enough," he says. "Who are they?" He shakes his head slowly. You start asking around carefully, casually. The woman at the laundromat changes the subject. The guy at the corner store says he closes at 10:30 now. "Better for business," he says, without blinking. A kid, maybe 19, leans close to you at the bus stop. "They own the precinct. You didn't hear that from me." He gets on a bus going the wrong direction. You stand there, and something shifts in you. Not fear, curiosity. His name is Dario. He finds you. You don't find him. He sits next to you at the diner on 5th and orders coffee like he's been there 100 times. "You've been asking questions," he says. You don't confirm or deny. He smiles. That's smart, not saying anything. He slides a phone across the table. Burner, already on. "There's a job," he says. You ask what's in the package. "Information," he says. "Documents." You ask what happens if you say no. He picks up his coffee. He leaves the phone on the table and walks out. You sit there for 22 minutes. Then you pick up the phone. 10:45 p.m. Clement Street Storage Unit. Code 4419. The unit is cold inside, smells like old paper and rust. The package is a manila envelope wrapped in black plastic. You put it inside your jacket. You walk. 6 blocks, Wicker Avenue, blue door. No knocker, no bell. You tap 3 times, like Dario told you. The door opens exactly 2 inches. A hand comes out. You put the envelope in the hand. The door closes. You walk home. You're inside by 10:59 p.m. Your phone buzzes. Burner. Clean. Same time Thursday. 40 minutes later, an envelope slides under your door. Cash. $500. You hold it in your hands under the kitchen light. You don't sleep that night either. But this time it's different. This time, you don't want to. 3 weeks in, You've done the walk 8 times. You know the route without thinking. You know which streetlights flicker. You know which corner the van parks on which nights. You know the van means safety, actually, because you now know the men inside aren't hunting regular people. They're hunting competitors. You understand the system now. The curfew isn't law enforcement, it's territory control. The police look away because they've been paid to look away. The curfew keeps civilians off the street so business can move without witnesses. Simple, brutal, effective. Dario meets you at the diner again. You're reliable, he says. The packages get heavier. The pay goes up. $1,000 a walk, then $1,500. You start keeping cash in a lockbox under your floorboard. You stop asking what's in the envelopes. That's level 6. You stop asking questions. Dario gives you a name, Torres. You're working with him now. He runs the East Corridor. Torres is quiet, organized. He drives a gray Honda that's always spotless. He teaches you the signals. A certain way a trash can is positioned means the route is clear. 2 cans together means abort. A green bottle on a windowsill means you have 10 minutes max. You learn it all, and you're good at it. Torres tells you that, and Torres doesn't compliment people. By week 7, you're not just walking packages. You're coordinating 2 other walkers, teaching them the routes, making sure they stay under 11. You're 3 levels deep now. You have a burner, a lockbox, and $8,000 you can't put in a bank. You also have a feeling you can't quite name. It lives in your chest, heavy, permanent. You're starting to think it might be dread. His name was Elijah, one of the walkers you trained. 22 years old, trying to pay off his mother's medical bills. You liked him. He goes out at 11:14 p.m. on a Wednesday. 14 minutes past the line. You don't know why. You never find out. By Thursday morning, his name is already past tense in the conversations you overhear. Nobody says what happened. Nobody has to. You sit in your apartment and stare at the burner phone. You think about calling Dario, asking. You don't, because you already know. And knowing changes everything. You lie on your kitchen floor, lights off. And for the first time since this started, you understand the weight of what you're inside. Not an organization, not a system, a machine. And machines don't care which part breaks. You start noticing things you didn't notice before. The man at the bus stop who reads the same newspaper every morning. Same page, never turns it. The woman who jogs past your block at 7 a.m. but always slows down in front of your building. The gray Honda parked 2 streets over that isn't Torres's. You start sleeping with your shoes on. You stop using the burner at home. You walk to 3 different blocks before making calls. You count your cash every morning and every night. 7 days ago, $9,400. Today, $9,400. But you count it anyway because the paranoia needs somewhere to go. You try to think about how to get out, but you realize you don't know how. You don't know enough to walk away safely, and you know too much to simply disappear. The machine has your name now. That's how it works. You don't join this world. It absorbs you. Dario calls a meeting. Not the diner. A garage on the south side. Torres is there. 2 other men you don't recognize. Dario looks at you for a long moment. We're expanding the corridor, he says. New route, new city. We need someone to set it up. You understand what he's offering. More money, more access, more depth. Or, he says quietly, you're done. One word, done. But the way he says it, you know done doesn't mean retired. You look at Torres. Torres looks at the floor. You think about Elijah, about the grocery bag left on the sidewalk, about the woman who turned around without saying a word, about who you were before level 1, the person who just walked home from a friend's place on a Tuesday night. You look at Dario. You say yes. You don't recognize the sound of your own voice when you say it. New city, different streets, same vans, same silence after 11. You teach new walkers the signals. A certain way a trash can is positioned means the route is clear. 2 cans together means abort. You teach them without feeling anything. You're good at it. And one night, 6 weeks into the new corridor, you see a new face. Young, watchful, asking quiet questions, paying attention. Something in you shifts. And you think about stopping him, warning him. But you don't. Because you remember someone could have warned you, and they didn't. So you say to this kid exactly what was once said to you. Nothing. You say absolutely nothing. And you watch. The machine absorbs another person. And somewhere in a city you used to call home, someone new is walking back from a friend's place on a Tuesday night. The street is empty. Not quiet. Empty. And they feel it before they understand it. Just like you did. The curfew isn't a law. It never was. It's just the city reminding you who actually owns the dark. You do. Now, whether you want it to or not.